Good morning, everyone. This is Rhett Scott at hpCommerce Software. I welcome you to day one of our HP Quick Start training. Okay, let's dive into HP then. So the first items that you're going to want to cover when you're new to HP is system configuration. And we're just going to touch on the topics today that are important to you using the software. What is the bare minimum that you need to be able to do in order to be able to add parts to the system, create orders, and invoice customers. The very first item and the most essential when it comes to doing sales is sales tax maintenance. So let's hop over to a copy of HP. So we'll start in system setup and then go into sales tax maintenance. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at an existing sales tax zone that's been set up. So we call these zones or codes, and you can set up as many as you need in order to get items properly taxed. However, most customers just need one tax code. You don't need to create separate tax codes for taxable and non-taxable customers. That's handled in how you set up a customer and how you indicate that you're shipping an order to them. So in most cases, setting up just one tax zone is going to work fine. So let's take a look at the one we already have set up. Now I've said that you should use the mouse, but for these classes, I've said that you shouldn't use the mouse. You should use the keyboard, pardon me. But for these classes, I'm going to use the mouse so that you can see what I'm doing. So let's double click on this sales tax code we have set up. And for a sales tax code, you need to give it a description and indicate the state that it's for. And then you need to provide what the sales tax rate is. You can break that down by state, county, and city. And then you'll get a total rate. You can also indicate whether or not tax for this code, whether freight is taxable and whether labor is taxable. So let's go ahead and set up a tax code. So I'll select Add a Tax Code. So I've provided a description. This description will appear on your reports. So we have sales tax detail reporting in the system. And whatever descriptions you put here are what is going to appear on the report. So this is helpful if you're in a situation where you have more than one tax zone. This helps you understand what sales tax information you're looking at. Then we can indicate whether freight is taxable, whether labor is taxable, and then we can set up our breakdown for our taxes. It's important to break out your tax rate and not just to give it a lump sum. The reason for this is in the sales tax detail reporting, it will indicate how much was collected for these different percentages and break it out. So it makes completing your sales tax requirements that you have to file with your state easier to do. In my case, I just have one tax rate just for the state. I can save the information, and now I have another tax zone set up. But as I said, most customers are only going to need one sales tax setup. Salesperson maintenance. We're going to take a look at salesperson maintenance. This isn't a required item, but if you want to be able to indicate who is responsible for a specific sale when you create a sales order, then you're going to want to create one or more salespeople. Let's go back over to HP. And on the system configuration menu, we want to go into Employee, Salesperson, User Maintenance. Let's go ahead and create a new employee. So we can press F10 Add. Now when you're setting up an employee, there's only a little bit of information that you have to provide. You have to give them a 3-character clock-in code. And I normally recommend that people just use people's initials. You want to give them a display name. And this is the name that would display on lists where you go to pick salespeople out, and would also appear on an order when you create an order. And then you want to provide a last name and a first name. And when it comes to setting up employees that will be salespeople, you need to indicate down here in the bottom right-hand corner is salesperson. You need to set that to yes. So let's go ahead and set up a salesperson. And this is all that is required in order to set up a salesperson. We can press escape and save the information. Now if we want to look at a list of employees we previously set up, we can hit the list function, and then we can see everyone that's been set up. You can select one to edit, and you can go in and edit the information. But we want to keep things simple in this Quick Start webinar, and if you want to be able to assign a salesperson to an order, which I recommend, you just need to go in here and provide these basic details. A code, a display name, last name, first name, and if they are a salesperson. The next item we want to cover that's just really too good to pass up are logos. Now, this isn't a required step for the software in order to get going, but it's just an item that will really make you look professional when you hand your customers a sales order or a quote or an invoice, or send purchase orders to your suppliers. So we're going to touch on logos a little bit here. So let's hop back over to HP. And on the System Configuration menu, you can go into Load Logos. You will need to have an artist design a logo for you, or you can do this yourself. A tip is that your logo needs to contain your contact details, meaning your address, and if you want to, your phone number information. We've also indicated recommendations here on the size that you should produce, and we indicate that it should be a bitmap of 300 dpi, but we now also support JPEG and PNG type files, so it doesn't have to be a bitmap file. So we're going to focus on the documents logo, which is the one that would appear on quotes, invoices, sales orders, and purchase orders. So we can select Load New Document Logo, F1, and then I'm going to go over to my D drive, and I've got a logo stored here, and we'll open that up. So as I indicated, it needs to have your logo on it and then your contact details. So this logo was set up nicely to be able to do that. Once you have your logo loaded, then you can escape out of here and that information will be saved. The next item we're going to cover is purchasing setup. There's some basic setup you can do to help out with purchasing. Let's see what that is. So to access purchasing setup from the System Configuration menu, go into F5, Purchasing Setup. And we want to focus on this option, Print Logo on Purchase Order. If you've set up a logo, then you can set this to yes, and your logo will appear on your purchase orders. Then, your purchase order message. At the bottom of the purchase order, this message will print. If you want to pass along information to your suppliers, for instance, that the purchase order number should always appear on any invoices that they send to you. If you want to have packing list included, then you can indicate that information. So you can just go into here and you can type whatever information you want. So I've made a modification to this. Once I've made the modification, I can press escape. It will ask me to save the information, and I can say yes.